Hey everyone, this is Josh Peak, and I am the host of the Josh Peak Show. In this episode, I interview Mark and Matt Dodgen, brothers who own NearFall, which is a apparel company in the wrestling industry. It is awesome. And these two guys used to be phenomenal wrestlers and have taken their drive from the wrestling mat right into in the business world. So you're really going to enjoy this. Two great guys, good friends of mine, Mark and Matt Dodgen of NearFall. Thank you. Hey everyone, this is Josh Peak. Welcome to the Josh Peak Show. I'm your host, and we always interview entrepreneurs and people sometimes who have had a wrestling background as well. And today I'm excited. I've got Matt and Mark Dodgen on the call. They're the owners of NearFall. Known these guys for a long time. We go back a long ways. We're around the same weight when we wrestled in high school and college, and so I'm excited to have you guys on. Hey Mark. Hey Matt.
Hey, what's up, Josh?
Hey, Josh.
Hey, guys. Well, so, I wanted to do this podcast with you guys for a while now, and I know we've been going back and forth, been having a busy schedule, and so we finally get together here, and I think this is going to be a good podcast because you guys, number one, are the interesting dynamic. You guys are twins. You come from a wrestling background, but now you guys own your own business and been pretty successful at it. So let's just start from the very beginning. Where did it all start for you guys? I mean, and what age did you guys start wrestling?
And we started wrestling when we were 4 or 5 years old. I can't remember the exact age. I mean, we were 39 and 42 pounds, if that can tell you anything.
Wow.
That was our first weight. So we've never not known wrestling.
So were you guys originally from, you guys wrestled in Ponca City, Oklahoma. So is that where it started, or are you from Texas originally?
No, we're actually from Amarillo. We grew up, we were born in Amarillo, and we grew up until, we're 13 years old, and then we moved to Ponca when we were 13. But yeah, we kind of grew up in a wrestling family. Both sides of our family are wrestling. Our dad, wrestled since he was a little bitty, and he had success, and he wrestled in college. And then on our mom's side of the family, they're actually pro wrestlers.
Oh wow!
People don't know that, but yeah, a lot of people don't know. And pro wrestling is a different, obviously animal than amateur wrestling. But we grew up with our grandpa's house had a pro wrestling ring.
Well, that's interesting because one of my first business mentors was Cowboy Bill Watts, he owned Mid-South Pro Wrestling, but then there was the Von Erichs and some other guys in the Texas territories that were pretty big names.
Oh yeah, we recognize the Von Erichs for sure. That's cool.
Like Terry Funk, that was our grandpa's era. Like they know, I'm sure. My uncles and all them know him too. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Bill taught me a whole lot when it comes to marketing. I mean, I went to school for marketing, but I really learned a lot from him. I think I learned more in marketing being outside of the university than I ever did in the university. But anyways, so you guys moved to Ponca City, 13 years old, had a pretty good career. I mean, I remember you guys wrestling at the Bobby Lyons tournament in Sand Springs and also Sepulveda. So I saw you guys around a lot. You guys were usually around, 119, 125, 130?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's it. 25 in high school for me and in college.
And I wrestled 130. So,
yeah.
I mean, really,
many moons ago.
Yeah, I mean, moving from Amarillo, because really, we grew up in the Maverick Club, there was quite a few good wrestlers that came out of the Maverick Club, but we kind of hit. Our dad could kind of see, Oklahoma wrestling was kind of where it was at, and Texas wrestling at the time wasn't as tough. So we were kind of at the pinnacle of what we could do in Texas. And Dad was like, man, he knew that something had to change, especially for our wrestling to evolve. So our dad moved us to Oklahoma mainly because of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So when we did get it to Oklahoma, it was a couple of years.
It was a shock. There was a buffer period.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
we had to adapt, man, and we had our success in Texas, and we came to Oklahoma, and we weren't winning every tournament, right off the bat.
We're getting thirds and seconds, and which is okay. But
yeah, it was good, but it was just, how it is, man. Oklahoma, it lives and breathes wrestling, that's what we love about it.
Yeah, we love Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously the pedigree is here, and it seems like about every weight you've got. You get up in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and obviously they're stacked. They're stacked 3 or 4 or 5 deep each weight. We were probably 2 or 3 deep, but man, I mean, we got some good guys in Oklahoma. There's no, it's no surprise I think when people come wrestle Oklahoma, they know they're in for it.
For sure.
They're just tough. Like, you can go to all these little local tournaments in Oklahoma and get all you need, which is a lot of people are going to having to travel for that. That's the advantage of being in Oklahoma.
We loved it right from the beginning. Right when we moved to Ponca, it was like we were home. But yeah, we got to fish, hunt. I mean, we
go to the lake in the summertime. We've never really been around that. Ponca or Amarillo doesn't have all that. It's flat. There's not really any lakes, and
yeah, we were in heaven when we moved to Ponca. It was cool, man. People were nice, and the wrestling community took us in right away.
Well, yeah, I remember you guys wrestling there. And so, what did you guys end up? You guys both have a couple state championships a piece, or one and two? I mean, how did you guys end up in your high school careers?
Matt, I got first and second, and third.
Yeah.
I won it, and then Mark won it twice and got second
once. So I went first, second, first.
So
yeah. So that's an interesting thing too. Like I always thought, and you always think about like if you had twins, I mean, what do you do when they're around because in Oklahoma, say if you have twins that one of them say 119, 125, and you guys are good, you guys are really good, but then you've got other guys around those weights too that are stacked as well. I mean, so what do you do? Like, what did your dad do whenever it came time to? I mean, if you're around the same weight. Does one of you guys pull? Does one of you guys go up? I mean,
yeah, Mark was really the one that pulled. I've always been a little heavier, and this is Matt speaking. I've always been about 5 to 10 pounds heavier, especially when we got older. So Mark was always the one that had the sacrifice and the pulling part.
Yeah. I remember Mark being a lighter weight. I always wondered that because. You have to make decisions, obviously, when you're making, say, schoolboy, cadet, junior teams, or if you're or just your high school team, right? So somebody's got to go up or down.
Sure, yeah, definitely. It was, and even when we were a little smaller, I remember tournaments where Dad did put us in the same tournaments at the same weight, and we'd end up, hopefully we didn't have to wrestle each other. That just end up in the finals together, and we just flip a coin of who won or whatever, and not wrestle, because we ended up, if we wrestle, we ended up
fighting.
Not being good. We'd be fighting.
See, I think that's what I would do too. If I had twins, and I'm like, okay, you guys are going the same weight for Tulsa Nationals, or you're going the same weight for wherever. If you do make the finals, I think I do the same thing. You flip a coin, because I wouldn't want my boys wrestling each other in the finals. I mean, I'd like them to be in the finals, but I wouldn't want them to wrestle.
No, I mean, in reality, both medals are coming to the same household anyway, so it doesn't matter. You don't want to create that, and in your psyche at a younger age, that's probably wouldn't be good. That we almost divide the family, really, and the brothers. So it's better just to be like,
we won.
Yeah, we won.
So you guys ended up from Ponca. Then you guys had a lot of success there, and then I remember you guys went to Iowa Central, right? Is that where you guys went right after high school?
Yeah, man. And in reality, like our as far as our grades and everything like that, we didn't focus on them as we should have going through high school. Wrestling was always was the kind of the
main focus.
It was. So our grades weren't as high as they should have been for us to go to Oklahoma State or, Iowa or wherever, at the time. So we had to go to a JUCO right off the bat.
So what made you guys think? I mean, what other schools were you guys recruited by coming out of high school? I'm sure you guys were recruited by quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we're recruited Oklahoma State, OU,
all the tops.
Iowa
State.
And we remember talking to, at the time, we were talking to Spates a lot every weekend, and we were talking to Mark Branch, who recruited us. He was, I guess, at the time,
assistant coach.
John's right-hand man in the recruiting. So we were talking to all those guys at one point in time.
That was the original plan, is go to junior college for 2 years, and then after that go Division I. But, after that first year, I had a serious girlfriend, and
it's his wife now.
Yeah. Anyway.
She was at Oklahoma State, and so we went to Iowa Central at the time, and it was a complete shock to us.
Yeah.
It's way out there. It's
cornfield,
Fort Dodge, which is cool, but the intensity of the practice and stuff were pretty crazy. And all those kids going into JUCOs, they're kind of in the same scenario as us. The grades weren't to go D1, and so they're all D1 material, but they just weren't as far as their grades. So it was a feeding frenzy. Like everybody it was a tough environment, which is good. I mean, we thrive in that, but it was a wild ride right at the beginning.
So who was the coach at Iowa Central when you guys were there?
Mark Ostrander.
Okay.
He's cool. We like Mark. He's a cool dude.
He's a cool coach.
Yeah, I remember when you guys were there. You guys were there when I was at Labette. And then I remember you guys going to Central. You went to Central Oklahoma right when I transferred to Fort Hays State. So, Fort Hays State's out in the middle of nowhere. I now know what you guys were talking about, like Fort Dodge. I mean, when you go to Hays, Kansas, there's nothing.
No, I remember going to a trip to Hays. I think we told you guys. You're definitely out there in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah. So what? So then from Iowa Central, you guys went to Central Oklahoma. What was in that decision? I mean, why did you guys choose UCO over, OU, OSU, or anybody else?
Because we'd have had to go another year.
Yeah, we'd have had to go another year to JUCOs to go back to go to Oklahoma State or go to Iowa. But if we went 1 year at JUCOs, we could have transferred Division II.
Okay.
So we made a decision, and in all that whole mix, we were talking to UCO too before we knew we had to make a decision on D1 or D2. And Sean Bateman which David James' assistant coach at the time. We hit it off with him pretty good. The whole family loved him, and he was consistent in calling us, and he was just, I don't know.
He read our bio really good.
I mean, he knew that what we liked. I mean, he did his homework.
He pulled up in a flatbed truck and
when we went on a recruiting trip and picked us up in his flatbed. Yeah, it's like a 19 Ford. It was a 84 Ford flatbed, and he was like, man, he sold us.
He did. He country boyed it up on us.
Yep.
He's a good dude, though. He's one of our
boys now.
He's awesome, man. I like Sean a lot. I think he's a great leader, and I think I'll tell you what. So when Rhett was first wrestling, and Brant, his son, wrestled. They've wrestled a few times, had some great matches, and I remember talking to Shane Roller. We're sitting there. I said the toughest coach I've ever had to coach against, like that is smart and really knows what they're doing, and you're in for a battle is Sean Bateman. That guy knows how to coach, man. I mean, he knows how to coach. Seriously, he is hard to coach against. Yeah.
Yeah, he's part. I mean, he was my workout partner most of my senior year. Like me and him would just the whole time. If it weren't for Sean Bateman, I mean, I probably wouldn't have done what I did in college, because of him, really.
And he was a good motivator too. Like he kept your morale good, and he kept you just going. And David James too, though.
Yeah, DJ was awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, coaches, the whole UCO staff was awesome.
We loved it at UCO, man. It was great for us.
Well, Edmond's a good town though too. It really I like Edmond.
Yeah, for sure. Edmond is awesome.
Yeah. So then after UCO, then did you immediately start NearFall, or did you guys get involved or work somewhere else, or what was right after UCO for you guys?
Man, no, we really. I mean, even through college, like luckily, we obviously got through college, graduated college. We really didn't know exactly what we wanted to do. Mark was wanting to go into coaching, and for me, I wanted to do business, I kind of gravitated towards that more than anything. And so we were kind of just trying to figure it out. At the time, there was some wrestlers that were in the mortgage industry this is Matt speaking, and they came back. I remember like our senior year, and they're all driving all these nice trucks, and they're paying for all the wrestler stuff. And I'm like, man, what do you do? Like, well, I'm a mortgage consultant. And I was like, and it was one of our boys, Weston, and I said, well, shoot, what do we need to do? What I need to do that? And he's like, as soon as you graduate, you give me a call. So I was like, okay, as soon as I graduated, I gave him a call. He was up there in Dallas, and it ended up getting me an opportunity to interview and to be a loan consultant. So I moved to Dallas for 2 years to pursue that.
And I moved to Amarillo.
And Mark moved to Amarillo to be going to our dad has a construction company. And so, Mark's always been a hands-on kind of Mr. Fix-It, and I never really was that Mr. Fix-It. It's weird. Being twins, you'd think that you would always like the same things, but that's kind of what he did. And he went there and they flipped houses for years. Yeah.
We had rental houses, commercial. I mean, we started getting into the real estate stuff.
And so I stayed in the mortgage industry for 2 years. And Dallas I liked it, but it was a little bit too fast paced, like the traffic and everything. I liked it for the time that I was there, but I knew that, eventually I wanted to be back where my family was.
Right.
So I stayed there for 2 years, and then after that, I was like, okay, I know that once I got that 2 years in, I got that under my belt, I could get hired on, any other bank anywhere else. So I moved to Amarillo to be closer to the family. And then we played, and I don't know if you remember that we played music. We used to bring our guitars to the wrestling tournaments and stuff like that and play guitars before we wrestled.
Oh, yeah.
We always
kind of relaxes, really.
Yeah, we always loved music. We always loved singing and stuff like that. So when we got back, wasn't back for very long. We started playing acoustic, and we created a band and played music. So, what happened, we created this band. We wanted it to represent who we were, and we're wrestlers. So what we did, both of us wrote down all the wrestling terms on a piece of paper, and we're trying to figure out what our band name was going to be. And so Mark wrote it, and I wrote it.
A whole list of them.
Yeah, a whole list of them. So I circled one, Mark circled one, and we came back in the same room, and both of us circled NearFall.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So our name NearFall.
So, we both thought it was it was. I said, that's the coolest name. It was like, and it'll be cool to have it, to represent us wrestlers being in music. But we played a lot.
In our mind, we're going to be the wrestler, like the band NearFall, like big,
We want, especially
sky's the limit.
You're dreaming like that. You want to go as high as you can go. But we played for a long time, and we loved it, and we're getting better at it and getting good at it. But then Mark got married to his wife Nikki, and being a newlywed,
in the bars,
she didn't like all that. And and you can understand that. So we had to kind of put that on the back burner, and then at that time, the MMA, we've always been involved in the MMA, and because in Amarillo, the fight scene was really, really, really at that time heavy. Like there's a lot of fighters that came in.
Way before UFC and Pride and all that, it was in Amarillo. Like this started in Amarillo.
So one of my dad's best friends, Steve Nelson, he started the fight promotion in Amarillo, and this is before it was all sanctioned. They were open hand basically slap fighting.
Kind of like Boss Rutan used to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the
Evan Tanner came out of there, Paul Bontello. There's a bunch of guys.
Heath Herring.
Wow. But he's good. Tough dudes there.
Oh, yeah. So we were growing up when we were little. Of course, the natural transition is to be a fighter after. So that was kind of a plan in our plans, too, is to fight after. So we'd go to all those fights. Anyway, we basically, at that time, there wasn't, Tapped Out kind of first started, we started seeing it and people were wearing it, and there wasn't really a brand other than the brands that were, in wrestling at the time, Brute and Cliff King, and that was pretty much it. And so we're like, where's the wrestling brand? Like, where's something that these fighters that are wrestlers, why aren't they wearing something, that represents wrestling? So, we're like, we need, and rewinding back a little bit right out of college, I'll tell you what, I actually got a job with a buddy of mine. You know Micah Copeland?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know Micah.
So Copeland was managing at Abercrombie.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the manager in Oklahoma City at the Abercrombie in Oklahoma City. Maybe it was after. It was after I got out of the mortgage industry. I wanted Copeland was like, hey man, you move to Oklahoma City and I'll get you a job as my assistant manager at Abercrombie. And I was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And so he hooked me up with a job at Abercrombie, and I managed the Abercrombie at Quill Springs Mall for a year. Yep. Okay. And so I loved it. I thought it was a blast. Like, I had a good time with it. And we've always been kind of, aware of fashion and what's cool, what's not cool, and what we like, what we didn't like. So it was perfect for me. I went in there, and it was easy for me to transition into the fashion scene. Abercrombie is kind of athletic looking, look
sure.
At the time. So anyway, I got that experience, and that kind of gave us a little bit of a, whenever we did decide, hey, there's not a brand that really represents, we need to do something about it. We were hanging out one night, Mark and I were, fast forward, it was 2009, 2008, 2009, we decided, hey man, let's see what we need to do to trademark NearFall as a brand, a wrestling brand. And so we went through, at the time we didn't have the money to trademark it or anything like that. So we hired an attorney, a trademark attorney, to answer all of our questions and stuff like that. And so the attorney was like, hey, so we're like, basically we could do this ourselves. He's like, yeah, basically. But we used them as he counseled us through the whole process.
We got it trademarked. We didn't even say anything to anybody for like a whole year.
I mean, trademark process takes a while.
Oh, it does. It does.
We were holding our cards close to our heart, until that year came about. And then we're like, man, as soon as we got it trademarked, we were like, okay, let's do something. So we first started selling at events, close to Amarillo, which is Panhandle Nationals. I remember it's kind of a weird deal how it all turned out. We were going to an MMA gym at the time. We were doing jiu-jitsu and stuff, and the owner of the gym had bought all this screen printing equipment and never used it. So we were
he was wanting a deck built by my dad, so we're like, you know what, we just traded it out for all the deck, and it ended up working out.
Well, he knew that he was like, oh, you guys are wanting to start, NearFall, this clothing company. He goes, I got a bunch of equipment. He goes, and I know that you guys got a construction company too. He goes, would you guys be willing to trade out some work for this equipment? And we're like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
So we traded him out this deck for these screen printing equipment, and then we had to figure out how to screen print.
You should have seen all of our first shirts, man. I mean, like, they were crooked and like.
Oh, they were. Yeah, it was so much fun though. I mean, we had a blast just going in there, like,
to create.
Yeah, we were able to just create whatever we wanted, and so we were in. And for the first couple of years, it was definitely not the best product.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we bought him and Jesse. We bought him some NearFall stuff. The quality, man. I mean, the shirts are amazing though. Like, I'm talking like the material. You can buy shirts wherever you want, but when we bought the NearFall shirts, I don't know how to describe it, but there's a thickness to it. It's just good quality. There's really good quality shirts.
Well, we appreciate that. It's been many years.
Yeah. So you guys, I mean, you've been in the mortgage industry. It was hot. I think when you were in it, I'm sure, just listening to the timeline, I remember, I mean, it was loose. I mean, almost anybody could get a mortgage at that time. And so it was a hot market. I mean, I remember the real estate market here in Tulsa was just on fire. I mean, and it is right now too. I think it's come back. The real estate market in Tulsa is awesome. I think it's a little tighter to get a mortgage than it used to be, especially if you're self-employed or a business owner. But at that time, I mean, a person can make a good amount of money being in the mortgage industry for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And they did.
Yeah, and when I got into it, it was as loose as it could get, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys were making hand over fist. And when you're young, I mean, making any kind of money right there, you feel like you're a $30,000 millionaire.
Right, right. Yeah.
So, it was hilarious. Like and all these guys, Mickey Henry.
He had an Audi. He bought an Audi.
Like we all were buying vehicles we couldn't afford.
Oh yeah, I remember it, man. I mean, everybody and their dog. They were working at big corporations, and it was like literally they were turning in their 2 weeks notice and becoming either a mortgage broker or they were becoming a real estate agent. It was one or the other. I mean, all the wrestlers I knew. I mean, it was like, when I went to look at a house, you could just pick it whatever wrestler you want. It was going to take you to look at a house and get a mortgage at the time. It was crazy. I mean, and the other thing is, I would rather work with a wrestler. I mean, my dentist is a wrestler. I mean, I would rather work with a wrestler in anything than somebody else. I mean, I think it was Dave Schultz used to say that. Like his mortgage broker, his accountant, they're all wrestlers. And he knew they'd do a good job. He knew they were hard workers. So, but just seeing you guys out doing what you're doing, I mean, you work hard, man. You guys are at every major tournament, like Tulsa Nationals and Kickoff, and I think I've seen you at Panhandle Nationals and some of the bigger tournaments, and that's what it takes. So I guess the next question is, do you see that? I think we're in the media part of wrestling. You got flow and track, and I still think there's a void there, though. I still think that the media can even be better. I think you're starting to see podcasts coming out. You and I talked to you guys about that before we got on this podcast. I think you guys would be killer at a podcast. I personally think. But I guess the question though is, do you see the apparel business and then also the media in wrestling? Do you think it's just starting? We're at the very beginning of it.
Oh, definitely.
There's always going to be room for. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, those. The flows and the track, they do what they do. That's only like a select, just like anything. People want variety, and other people have a lot more things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can be more different. They can be creative in a different way to where they're getting different content than what they're getting.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
So to answer your question, I think definitely. There's definitely room for growth because it's just at the very beginning, I think.
Well, I think, and nothing against flow, but I mean, when somebody comes along and they actually have wrestled, like there are wrestlers that have had, they understand the ins and the outs of wrestling that maybe nobody else just understands. Wrestling is a very interesting sport because you have people who have been in it and around it their whole lives, and you just can't understand what they understand because they've cut the weight. They started at a young age, or maybe didn't start at a young age, but they've cut the weight. They put the time in. They've had the cauliflower and the broken noses and the injuries, and they went down and had to come back up. And the struggles and everything. And when someone comes out that has that type of experience, and maybe even going into MMA too, I think they could have one heck of a media company. I mean, if you look at just for example, like the UFC guys that are commentators now, like Michael Bisping and just some of those guys, Daniel Cormier, they can speak intelligently about what's really going on because they've actually done it.
Exactly.
No, you're right. It's in a lot of the wrestlers, and wrestlers can relate to them a lot better than they can be somebody that's just a voice behind, a company didn't originate in wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
People are like, oh man, these are guys. They grew up
doing it or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I just think Flip saw the opportunity, which they're doing a great job, and they do a good job, and
what they do. But there's like you're saying, other wrestlers that can relate directly to wrestlers, and
Yeah, and we've got personalities. I mean, we've got the personality. I mean, wrestling, you know that. There's wrestlers, they got personalities, right? They they can do media and they love it. I mean, they have that. There's some wrestlers have some flamboyant personalities and can do really well. and I think you know, again, like what you guys were saying, I think Flo has been a great, and it's not a slight towards them. What I'm saying, I think Flo has done a great job, and they've really, in some ways, pioneered bringing media. They were one of the first. I mean, obviously, you know, they're in Austin, I guess. So when you're in a tech hub, you can bring technology and media into a place that just hasn't had it. I mean, we haven't had anybody come in and do it. I think that's where you'll see podcasting and vlogging and, you know, video vlogging and things like that. I think you're going to start to see that, you know, more and more. I think you'll even see wrestlers do it because it doesn't take a lot of time to actually sit down and do like what you and I are doing. You guys and I are. It doesn't take much time to do it, and you guys have something unique to say that, you know, maybe other people don't. It's coming from a different perspective.
Well, and the young wrestlers, you know, they're hungry for, you know,
mentor.
Yeah, they need people to, you know, maybe to help them, you know, in areas that you know, some of them don't have big brothers, some of them don't have father figures, and someone that they've already been there. They've been through, you know, the areas that the young wrestlers haven't been. They can maybe guide them or give them some information or give them some encouragement or give them little tips or something that'll help them, you know. So I think, you know, there's a need in that area too. Sure.
Well, so the last question, then I'll let you guys go. So what is, you know, parlaying? So you had to work your tail off in wrestling, and now I didn't know you guys were you're in the mortgage and construction, but so that's hard work too. And then you know you go right into you know, starting NearFall. What is, you know, I guess in wrestling it's easier. I guess, you know, Dan Gable used to say it like, you know, once you wrestled, everything else in life's pretty easy. And it's probably not easy. That's probably not the right. I mean, nothing's easy. But once you've wrestled, I mean, it makes it a little easier, you know. And so when you've taken on this entrepreneurial endeavor, how did wrestling, the hard work, how did it transfer over into the business world for you guys?
Man, I think that as far as the work ethic, definitely, you know, it helped us out completely. Like, we would definitely not be where we are, you know, aside from wrestling. But I think it just early on, it just developed our work ethic, and then also
just like the discipline.
Yeah, yep. And kind of seeing where we wanted to be. Like, when you're young, you know, your goal is to be a state champ, you know, and then whenever you become a state champ, your goal is to be a national champ. So once we had kind of put in our mind, this is what we want to do, we knew that we were going to work.
And we're not going to give up, regardless if we take a loss or if we have a something not
setback. Because, I mean, in wrestling, like, there's I mean, very seldom do you have a wrestler that never loses.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
You know, we've had our losses, but it's how you bounce back and what you do after is what matters. And so I think that when we've come to the heartbreaking losses in our wrestling careers where we had to dust ourselves off and go back at it, and life goes on. So I think that's what kind of helped us out with the NearFall is we've adapted. You know, we've changed. We've made ourselves better. And same with wrestling. You've got to become better than you were yesterday to be where you want to be.
You're only as good as your last win. You know?
And if you're getting taken down, you know, from someone, you know, shoots a certain move on you, well, you got to figure out how to defend it. You know, it's same with in business. Like, hey, if this didn't work, well, what do we do to make it work? And what do we do where we're not going to have to go through that again? You know, and I think it set the foundation basically. It did completely.
I think that's awesome. What you guys are saying is awesome because I think that's true. Like, I don't think it's being taught in wrestling enough. Like, in business, you want to fail fast and get the failures over quick because that way, I mean, the faster you can fail or, you know, get the failures out of the way, the quicker you can start to have success. And I think we're taught so much maybe in the schools and maybe even in wrestling too that there's so much pressure on not failing. But then when you get in business, your job is to find your niche, and the only way you're going to do that is to fail pretty quick. So then you know what not to do. real fast, because the longer you drag that on, the longer you're going to bleed in business. And that, obviously cash flow is king, right? So I think, and I read that in wrestling too, that, you have to know your weaknesses pretty quick. That way you can work on them a little bit. And you're going to have losses. And maybe we put too much pressure on kids, to have success rather than just get good at the sport and good at your craft, and then so you can become extremely good,
Yeah. Nah, definitely. I believe that to be true. And the kids put enough pressure on themselves.
Right.
Right. The parent putting added pressure, if anything, that it hurts their spirit, So I think you're right.
I said that was going to be the last question, but that brings me to one more. So when you travel around at these big tournaments, you probably don't get to spend a whole lot of time watching wrestling because you're running your business. But do you see that a lot? Do you see, say, from when we wrestled to now where we are today? Because wrestling, we have social media, we have phones, do you think the pressure's gotten greater? Has become greater on kids from parents? Do you see that at these bigger tournaments, or do you think it's the same? Do you think it's gotten greater, I guess?
I think it's bigger because there's more eyes, like you said, the phone, the social medias. That's adding pressure that was not there before. Because back in our time, no one had a phone watching you wrestle. No one even knew who you were until you went and wrestled them in their events or something. So yeah. I think the pressure, the media pressure, is on the kids because they're like, they know that someone's videotaping, it's going to go live or this and that. But the parents, there's some craziness out there on some of these parents that are. Yeah, so I don't know. I remember it back in the day, it happening, but I think now everybody's, trying to vicariously live through their kids, and some of those kids are just hating it.
Well, I noticed that too. Like with Rhett, I've let him. He's had great coaches, but I notice any time that, because we're all competitors, and one of these days you guys you'll understand that too. You guys have kids or whatever. You have to pull yourself back from it because it is real easy when you start seeing them have that success. It's kind of like feeding the monster, right? You want more success. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, I go to these national tournaments, man, and I'm like, my gosh, we're talking, especially the 6, 8, 10-year-olds, even 12-year-old kids. There's guys that you and I both, you guys, and we both know that didn't start till they were 12, 13, 14 years old to become extremely good wrestlers. And so I think you can see that in a kid. They'll wilt. Some of them with all that pressure, and you're going, man, that kid could have been, if their parents weren't, they weren't as crazy as they were about putting so much pressure on these kids, could end up being just amazing. But you can't stop it. They're going to do what they're going to do, these parents. You know what I mean? They're going to, there's nothing we can do to stop it.
I know. It's sad, though, when you see it, too. Because you're like, man, and we, probably so many kids that were phenomenal wrestlers when they're young, and then when they get older, they're burnt out, completely burnt out, and they quit. And then they try to come back later, and it's too late.
It is.
And it's, man, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. Well, and there's just a recipe of, when to push, when not to push, and when to let off.
I think David and Sean Baker did a good job doing that. Know when to push you and when to ease off. I think that's a lot of it.
And,
anyway.
Well, yeah, about you guys as a result and as a team, you guys obviously, you and them were obviously doing something right. It showed by the results that the team was getting, and also you guys. I remember those days. You guys had some good teams, and so. Anyways, well, where can people get a hold of you guys? Do you guys have a website?
Yeah, our website is NearFallClothing.com, and then our Facebook is NearFall, and then our Instagram is NearFall Clothing. And we're pretty active on the Facebook and Instagram, quite a bit. Not so much Twitter, but Instagram heavily. And then so yeah, you guys can check us out there and send us a message, or we'll respond.
Awesome. And you guys' home base right now, you got a building, I guess, right? You're right there in Amarillo, Texas.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've got our warehouses in Amarillo. We got our store front Amarillo.
So if you're coming through Colorado, whatever, give us a shout.
Yeah, if you guys are coming through, any wrestlers, come through, check us out, and come hang out for a little bit.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Like I said, I like talking to. It's easy to talk to wrestlers, but then the next step is when you get wrestlers who have been entrepreneurs and are still entrepreneurs and doing a good job. It's fun. I think you guys would kill it if you guys had your own podcast. You're twins. You have the marketability. I think you guys would do really good. But I appreciate you guys coming on, Matt and Mark Dodgen from NearFall. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you, brother.
All right. You guys have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Yeah.